Guys, it's John from Paranormal Wales UK. Tonight we're going to show you the spirits and the haunts of Kenfig sker in the Prince of Wales pub. Hope you enjoyed the video we put together. It just shows you what goes on and what haunts the pub. But next month we've got a video coming out, the full investigation, the paranormal investigation of sker and all around the area. It's a massive place. It took us ages to try and get a video together. It's so big. I hope you enjoy this. Have a good night, guys. We'll catch you soon at the next haunted location.
Mother, don't cry for me. I've done chose the life I lead. Yes, you taught me right from wrong, but now I sing the devil's song. Yes, I sing the devil's song. There ain't no one to blame for how I am.
Can you hear that? The organ. No? Maybe I'm imagining it because I know the story. Okay. Well, in the 1980s, 82 to be exact, here between these very walls, the then landlord and his wife began to experience what became termed as a supernatural occurrence. Or the Welsh Mary Celeste, as I like to call it. The story unfolds a little later than it is tonight. They'd just finished with Stop Tap and they were getting ready for their supper when both started hearing the faint sound of the Sunday school organ playing in the Guildhall. Thinking someone had snuck in to the room and was playing a bit of probably alcohol-fueled tomfoolery, the landlord ran up the outside stairs to open the door and dashed into the room. Yet the second the door was opened, the music stopped. And the room was completely empty. Now what follows sounds like some serious Sherlock Holmes business. The stairway was the only way of getting into the upper room, so a complete search was conducted to make sure it was indeed empty, and guess what? It was. And that's not it. The same thing happened again on 2 separate occasions. Each time the same ghostly music began playing, and each time it stopped the very moment the door latch was touched. Now the landlord's a braver man than I would have been. Chalked it down to some sort of physical phenomenon. Must be easily explained. So he brought in a couple of local specialists, and when they couldn't work it out, he brought in some of the world's leading experts. And it started getting some serious media attention, as you would imagine. Ghosts at the Prince of Wales Inn, the haunting of Kenfig. Could it be explained? Well, after a couple of weeks conducting experiments with their highbrow sound gear, the experts finally had a theory. Some sort of sound energy had been captured by the unusual salts found in the ancient walls here. And the sound, they believed, sounded uncannily like that of an old school organ. Anticlimax? Maybe. Except they disregarded all of the findings that didn't quite fit in with the theory. The sound of the organ wasn't the only thing captured on tape. The echoing footsteps of someone pacing across the bare boards of the hall. A clock slowly ticking, even though there was no clock in the room at the time. Perhaps most unusually, though, there were voices on the tape. Very faint in Old Welsh. One glwyddiau bwynt. One glwyddiau bwynt. Now, as far as we know, no murder or foul deed has ever been committed in the Guildhall in the past to provide motivation for these said ghosts, but for those who heard the haunting sounds, tales like this definitely capture the imagination, especially when heard round the glowing fireplaces in the Prince of Wales Inn on a cold, dark winter's night. Pint?
1,000 years ago, the locals will tell you, there was a thriving city on this spot. Where there is now little but grass and sand dunes, there was once a river, a port and a castle. The sea and the ships that sailed on it brought wealth and prosperity. But it also brought the Vikings. The Black Pagans, as they were called, sacked and burnt the city of Kenfig 8 times. And when they left, the sea also brought the sand, filling the river, drifting into the streets and houses, gradually burying everything. Today, there is nothing left of it but a memory. Well, not quite, for hard by Kenfig Pool there is a pub, the Prince of Wales, once the Guildhall of Kenfig, and by all accounts the pub is haunted, not by a figure, but by a sound. For years the landlords and patrons of the Prince of Wales have discussed strange tales of how in the dead of night there emerge from the very walls of the pub itself the sounds of voices, hesitant footsteps, and the eerie playing of an organ. Then one of the regulars, an industrial chemist named Alan Jenkins, who specialises in mineral crystallography, began discussing it with John Mark, a local electrical engineer. They wondered if some chemical element in the walls had allowed them to record sounds from the past.
If you examine the chemical structure of the rocks of the pub is made of, the silica rocks, there is a certain amount of limestone here, but which is not valid. The silica and the iron cement that binds the silica together could act as a magnetic tape, a recording tape, or a low-grade microchip. So we argued that possibly the walls could absorb sound and give it back out, and therefore give the pub atmosphere.
I suggested to Alan, the chemist, that perhaps we could activate the electrons in the wall by passing in electric charge. And in fact, what we set up was a transformer to put into the wall at various frequencies a charge of between 18,000 and 20,000 volts.
So, for the past 2 months, as night closes in, the pair have lugged their equipment up the stairs leading to the old meeting room above the pub, which seems to be the source of most of the unexplained phenomena. The electrodes to carry the voltage are attached to the wall, and the microphone is set in position. A time switch on the power is set to switch on the tape recorder between 1 and 4 in the morning, when most natural noises have ceased. Then the men leave, and the room is locked. After 70 hours of recording, these are some of the unexplained sounds that have been registered on their tapes.
Quite frankly, when we heard the tapes, I was frightened, because this is a very ancient room. The affairs of the community are being conducted for the last 700 years, I suppose. People have been imprisoned and I think hung. There is a court list on the wall of sentences that have been pronounced in this very room. It's been a centre of the political, social activities of this community for many hundreds of years. It is possible that some of the past could be recorded, but it has to be proved.
What we've heard so far is very difficult to dismiss the supernatural. Although we don't want to involve the supernatural, it's very, very difficult to dismiss it.
The supernatural, the silicates, or a hoax? The men themselves aren't sure. But now a firm of electrical engineers from Yorkshire has agreed to provide the equipment to establish whether or not they have really recorded sounds from the past. If the experiment is successful, the implications are considerable. What, one wonders, would the walls of the Parthenon or the Roman Forum say to us, if only we fed enough volts through them?